In the shadowy recesses of the Alto Town Mountains, where the peaks pierced the heavens and the valleys were shrouded in eternal mist, there lay the lair of Dahanavar, a vampire of ancient and formidable power. His existence was a whispered legend among the locals, a guardian devil whose protection came at the steep price of secrecy and reverence. For centuries, Dahanavar had maintained a delicate balance, feeding only on the blood of those who dared trespass into his domain, while shielding the valleys from the incursions of foreign armies. The people of the villages nestled at the foot of the mountains lived in a state of paradoxical peace, their fears of the vampire mitigated by his acts of protection. They offered him tributes of livestock and wine, hoping to appease his dark hunger and maintain his favor. In return, Dahanavar decimated any force that attempted to cross the treacherous mountain gorge, leaving behind nothing but silence and blood-soaked earth. One moonless night, a storm brewed over the mountains, casting an eerie glow upon the landscape. Lightning illuminated the jagged cliffs and dense forests, and thunder echoed like the growls of ancient beasts. Dahanavar emerged from his lair, his pale skin reflecting the electric light, his eyes glowing with an unholy fire. He relished nights like these, where nature's fury mirrored his own predatory instincts. As he prowled the edges of his territory, his heightened senses detected movement below. A group of soldiers, clad in dark armor and bearing the insignia of a distant kingdom, struggled through the forest, their goal clear: to conquer the valley by the dawn. Dahanavar's lips curled into a predatory smile. These men were intruders, their blood a rightful offering to quench his eternal thirst. He descended upon them like a wraith, his movements swift and silent. The soldiers had no chance to react. Their screams were swallowed by the storm as Dahanavar tore through their ranks, leaving lifeless bodies in his wake. Blood soaked the ground, and the vampire drank deeply, feeling the surge of vitality that only fresh blood could provide. When the slaughter was complete, Dahanavar stood amidst the carnage, his hunger sated. He turned to leave, but something unusual caught his attention. One soldier, barely alive, clutched a small, ornate chest. Curiosity piqued, Dahanavar approached and opened the chest, revealing a collection of strange documents and a dark, gleaming amulet. The symbols on the papers were unfamiliar, but they exuded a sense of ancient power, and the amulet seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Days turned into weeks, and Dahanavar found himself increasingly drawn to the contents of the chest. The documents hinted at an ancient magic, a forgotten power that could enhance his already formidable abilities. The amulet, when worn, amplified his senses and strength, making him nearly invincible. With this newfound power, he could protect the valleys more effectively, ensuring the safety of the people who had come to rely on his dark guardianship. However, the amulet's power came at a cost. Dahanavar felt an insidious change within him, a growing darkness that even he, a creature of the night, found unsettling. His hunger became more voracious, his temper more volatile. He began to crave not just the blood of intruders, but the essence of life itself. The villagers, sensing the change, grew fearful. The vampire, who had once been their protector, now seemed a looming threat. In their desperation, the village elders devised a plan. They approached Dahanavar with a proposition, begging him to use his power to fend off a new threat, a horde of marauders from the east. Dahanavar, his mind clouded by the amulet's influence, agreed. He descended upon the marauders with unprecedented ferocity, slaughtering them without mercy. But as he drank their blood, the darkness within him grew stronger, whispering insidious promises of untold power and dominion. Emboldened by his success, Dahanavar began to venture further, attacking neighboring villages and leaving a trail of devastation. His once controlled predation turned into a blood-soaked rampage, and the villagers, who had once revered him, now cowered in fear, unsure if they would be next. The valleys that had been safe for centuries were now drenched in the blood of both invaders and innocents. Realizing their mistake, the elders sought a way to rid themselves of the monster they had unleashed. They scoured ancient texts, searching for a method to break the amulet's hold over Dahanavar. As they delved deeper into the arcane knowledge, they uncovered a ritual that could sever the bond between vampire and amulet. But the process was fraught with peril and required a sacrifice of great significance. The night of the ritual approached, and the villagers, their hearts heavy with dread and hope, prepared for the confrontation. Dahanavar, now fully consumed by the amulet's dark influence, prowled the outskirts of the village, his once noble purpose twisted into a desire for absolute power. The storm that had marked his transformation now raged again, a harbinger of the coming conflict. As the ritual began, the villagers gathered in a circle, chanting the ancient incantations. The air crackled with energy, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Dahanavar sensed the disturbance and rushed towards the source, his eyes blazing with fury. He descended upon the villagers, his fangs bared and claws extended. But as he reached the center of the circle, a blinding light erupted from the ground, engulfing him in its brilliance. The amulet around his neck shattered, and Dahanavar let out a roar of agony as the dark power that had consumed him was torn away. He fell to the ground, weakened but free from the amulet's curse. As the villagers approached cautiously, Dahanavar looked up, his eyes filled with a mix of relief and sorrow. The balance he had maintained for centuries was irrevocably broken, and he knew that his presence was now a danger to those he had once protected. With a final, pained glance at the villagers, he fled into the night, leaving behind a community forever changed by his dark legacy. The villagers watched him disappear into the shadows, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that their guardian was gone. But as they began to rebuild, a new fear took root, the knowledge that Dahanavar, once their protector, had become something far more dangerous. And somewhere in the depths of the mountains, a vampire lurked, waiting for the day when he could return to reclaim his throne, his hunger for power and blood undiminished. But the story does not end here, for deep in the heart of the mountains, a new darkness was stirring, one that threatened to eclipse even the horrors of Dahanavar's reign. And as the villagers prepared for an uncertain future, they could only hope that they would be ready to face the terrors that lay ahead. In the aftermath of Dahanavar's departure, a palpable unease settled over the villages nestled in the shadow of the Altish Altotam Mountains. Though the immediate threat of the vampire had been vanquished, the scars of his reign ran deep, leaving the communities fractured and vulnerable. Whispers spread like wildfire through the valleys, tales of a new darkness lurking in the depths of the mountains. Strange occurrences plagued the once peaceful villages, livestock vanished without a trace, crops withered under an unnatural blight, and shadows seemed to move of their own accord in the dead of night. Rumors abounded of restless spirits and malevolent entities haunting the forests, their presence a chilling reminder of the lingering evil that had once held sway. Amidst the growing fear, a lone figure emerged from the darkness, his features obscured by a tattered cloak and the shadows that clung to him like a shroud. His name was whispered in hushed tones, a name spoken only in legends and nightmares: Voranis, the Dark Lord of the Mountains. Voranis was said to be older than the mountains themselves, a being of unparalleled darkness and malice who had long been imprisoned beneath the earth. With Dahanavar's downfall, the ancient seals that bound Voranis were weakening, allowing his malevolent influence to seep into the world once more. As the villages teetered on the brink of despair, a beacon of hope emerged in the form of a young woman named Alara. Possessing an inner strength and determination beyond her years, Alara refused to cower in the face of adversity. With the aid of a small band of allies, a grizzled hunter, a wise elder versed in the arcane arts, and a fearless warrior with a haunted past, Alara set out on a quest to uncover the truth behind the mounting darkness and put an end to Voranis' reign of terror. Their journey took them deep into the heart of the mountains, where ancient ruins lay forgotten beneath the dense foliage. Guided by cryptic clues and whispered prophecies, they ventured into the depths of the earth, confronting trials and tribulations beyond imagination. Along the way, they encountered allies and adversaries alike, spectral guardians, vengeful spirits, and creatures of nightmare that prowled the shadows. But as they drew closer to their goal, Alara and her companions soon realized that Voranis' influence extended far beyond the physical realm. His dark tendrils reached into the very fabric of reality itself, twisting and distorting the world around them in a bid for ultimate power. And at the heart of it all lay a revelation that would shake the foundations of their beliefs, a truth so profound and terrifying that it threatened to consume them all. As Alara and her allies braced themselves for the final confrontation, they knew that the fate of the villages, and perhaps the world itself, hung in the balance. For Voranis was not merely a creature of darkness, but a harbinger of something far more sinister, a force that threatened to engulf the world in eternal night. And as they prepared to face the ultimate evil that lurked within the depths of the mountains, They could only pray that their courage and determination would be enough to stem the tide of darkness before it was too late. The confrontation with Voranes proved to be more harrowing than anything Alara and her companions had ever imagined. As they delved deeper into the bowels of the mountains, they found themselves ensnared in a web of treachery and deceit, where reality itself seemed to warp and bend at Voranes' whim. Each step forward was met with relentless opposition, illusions that played on their deepest fears, traps that threatened to ensnare their souls, and whispers that stirred doubt and discord among their ranks. As tensions rose and morale waned, Alara found herself facing a formidable adversary not only in Voranes but also within her own group. Doubts and suspicions simmered beneath the surface, fueled by Voranes' insidious influence. Whispers of betrayal and hidden agendas tore at the fabric of trust that bound them together, leaving fractures that threatened to splinter their fragile alliance. And amidst the chaos, a shadowy figure lurked in the periphery, pulling strings and weaving a web of lies that threatened to tear them apart from within. As Alara struggled to maintain unity among her companions, she also grappled with the weight of her own doubts and fears. The burden of leadership weighed heavily upon her shoulders, and with each passing trial, she questioned whether she was truly worthy of the mantle thrust upon her. But with the fate of the villages, and perhaps the world itself, hanging in the balance, she knew that she could not afford to falter. With steely determination, Alara pressed onward, her resolve strengthened by the bonds of friendship and camaraderie that had weathered countless trials. Together, they faced Voranes in a final showdown that would test their strength, their courage, and their loyalty to the very core. But as the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded into the darkness, a new threat loomed on the horizon, one that neither Alara nor her companions had anticipated. For in their quest to vanquish Voranes, they had unwittingly unleashed forces far beyond their comprehension, forces that threatened to plunge the world into chaos and despair. And as they stood on the precipice of a new era, Alara knew that their journey was far from over, for the true battle had only just begun, and the fate of the world hung in the balance once more. In the wake of their victory over Voranes, Alara and her companions emerged from the depths of the mountains, battered but unbowed. The darkness that had once gripped the land began to recede, its malevolent influence waning with each passing day. The villages, though scarred by the ordeal, found solace in the knowledge that they were safe once more. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, life began to return to normalcy. The scars of the past began to heal, and the people found hope renewed in the promise of a brighter future. Alara, hailed as a hero by the villagers, assumed a position of leadership, guiding them with wisdom and compassion. But amidst the celebrations and rejoicing, a sense of unease lingered in the air. The events that had transpired in the mountains had left a mark on the world, one that would not soon be forgotten. And though Voranes had been vanquished, his shadow still loomed large, a constant reminder of the fragility of peace. Yet, for now, the land knew respite from the darkness that had threatened to consume it. And as the sun set over the horizon, casting its golden rays upon the tranquil valleys below, Alara and her companions stood united, their spirits unbroken, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. For in the end, it was not the darkness that defined them, but the light that shone from within, a light that would guide them through even the darkest of times, illuminating the path to a future filled with hope, courage, and boundless possibility. And as they gazed out upon the world, they knew that no matter what trials lay ahead, they would face them together, united in their resolve to protect the land they called home.